Just hearing the word recession is enough to make anyone shudder. While most people today may remember the housing crisis in the 2000s, one of the first housing booms in Florida swept through in the late 1920s. But does every economic decline have a dramatic impact on home prices? Does a looming potential recession mean the housing market will be left battered and bruised? Now more than ever, it is important for home buyers and sellers to consider the history of recessions, the repercussions they may have had, and more importantly, the opportunities they created in the housing market. In this video, you'll learn what it could mean for the future of our Florida and Sarasota metro area market. Hello, and welcome to my channel. I'm Lyndsey Ashley, Realtor with Keller Williams Realty Select, located right here in sunny Sarasota. I love helping sellers as well as buyers navigate the real estate process using my extensive knowledge to make their transactions as smooth as possible. If you enjoy this video and find it helpful, please hit that subscribe button. And if you'd like to get notifications when a new video is live, press that notification bell below. I love bringing you informational and entertaining content that helps you explore this wonderful area of ours. The U.S. housing market is remarkably resilient, having more or less weathered the majority of recessions since the 1930s. In fact, you won't believe how buoyant the market remained during some of America's worst economic downturns. Looking back over the years, we reveal what really happened to home prices in previous recessions. But first, let's quickly understand what defines a recession.
Historically, it has been defined as 2 consecutive quarters of decline in GDP, but a more modern definition is a significant decline in economic activity spread across the economy lasting more than a few months.
But did you know that there have been several recessions in the U.S. since the Great Depression? In fact, there have been 19 in America's financial history. 19! And history has also shown us that recessions typically last between 8 and 18 months and are also accompanied by bear markets, rising unemployment, and expansionary monetary and fiscal policies. No wonder they are so scary. By now, I am sure you are saying, Lyndsey, we know history repeats itself. Exactly. And not all of our historical recessions have negatively impacted our housing prices, especially our Florida market. Additionally, every recession has unique variables that make it different from the last one. If a recession does hit, how would it affect a housing market that's already starting to cool? It's understandable with scars from 2008 still fresh that some would worry about another implosion. But it's important to remember that the Great Recession of the 2000s was centered in the real estate market, and not every economic decline has such a dramatic impact on home prices. On the same note, it's somewhat counterintuitive, but recessions don't necessarily mean bad things for the housing market. In fact, they usually don't. After carefully evaluating the home prices during the 5 recessions since 1980, only twice did home prices decline during the recession in Florida. Once in 1980 and again in the beginning of 1981. Not every housing market in America was affected the same. There is no such thing as a national housing market, as each city has its own dynamics between supply and demand. Florida is very much a vacation, transient, second home, and retirement state. Our economics are not the same as, say, Wyoming. Historically, experts have done a bad job predicting the next housing market crash. Prices increased dramatically since 2020, but the Fed raising interest rates, the calculations for some buyers have changed, which has simmered our local market. Some, but we aren't noticing anything dramatic yet. So what if we do experience an economic downturn? Is it a good time to buy? In general, buying a home during a recession will get you a better deal. The number of foreclosures or owners who have to sell to stay afloat increases, typically leading to more homes available on the market and lower home prices, with sellers offering concessions as they become nervous with longer days on market. However, keep in mind, any recession we might experience isn't correlated to the housing market. Although it will affect the housing market in some ways, this time around it hasn't and shouldn't cause a collapse like with the massive defaults on subprime mortgages. It's natural for the real estate market to be cyclical in nature, with distinct highs and difficult lows. That means that even though these crashes are something to be aware of, they are a normal part of the economic process. The uncertainty of this year may have a toll on real estate across the country, but a crash of the magnitude of 2007-2008 is unlikely due to the many measures put in place to stop such an event taking place again. Fortunately, Fortunately, there are real estate purchases better able to weather the vicissitudes of the market than others. Multifamily homes that bring the owner rental income, properties in high demand, low supply locations, and houses that have been designed by experts with great attention to detail all tend to offer greater protection from losing substantial value during economic slowdown. If you are wanting to discuss our market conditions more, or if you want to chat about your plans to move to the Gulf Coast area, go to our website and complete our Connect form. If you prefer to email or call, you will find all that information in the description below. Again, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, feel free to share, and shoot me a comment below. Until next time.